went through a period of time where you couldn't speak as an adult, and could you talk about that a little bit?
I would be glad to. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was in a car accident 10 years ago. And I had been a public speaker, I had been a keynote speaker, and I was traveling around the world doing a lot of different types of speaking. I have a son with Down syndrome, and Curtis, yes, and one of my primary goals in life is to convince other people that everyone has value and everyone has purpose. And that's what I was doing. I was getting to do what I love, which is explaining how these people who are differently abled are gifts. They are not curses. They have wonderful things to share with the world. And it was so frustrating when I went to get a cup of coffee and was out on a Saturday afternoon, dropped my boys off at Boy Scouts, and someone in a huge dually pickup truck was on their phone and really not paying attention, and she thought the light had turned green, but it had not. And so she hit the back corner of my car at a very high rate of speed, and the impact was more severe than it initially looked. Because of the way she hit the car, there wasn't that much damage to the car, and because I was driving an Acura, they're very well built. However, I did not realize at the time that I had actually hit my head on the window. I knew I was very disoriented. Someone did call the ambulance. I was in a situation where I just was very confused about the situation, but I thought, oh, you know, it's just the trauma of the accident. Was taken to the hospital. They did CAT scans. They checked me over and they said I was okay. The next day, it was probably about 16 hours later, I realized that my face was becoming paralyzed. And so I started seeking medical attention. I was actually told by one doctor, which I find very humorous now, that I must have had Botox. And I'm like, I didn't have Botox.
Oh my
He
God.
kept insisting, tell me you had Botox, because this is going to be a horrible situation. This could kill you. I'm like, I didn't have Botox. Within 24 hours, my brain had swelled to the point where my face was paralyzed and I lost my language. So I went from being a
It must have been terrifying.
It was very scary. It was something that no one could explain, because nothing in particular had shown up. And so I was trying to still be courageous, but at the same time going, okay, so what now?
What now? Yes, this is my career, this is my life. What
Exactly.
now?
And my kids were young teens at the time. And so they were very distraught by the fact that mom suddenly couldn't speak.
Yeah.
So it was definitely very traumatic. And I really did lose my speech for several months. I began to get it back as my brain swelling went down. However, the damage that was done to my left lobe was where the speech pad is. And so it changed the way my brain worked. I was very left-brained. I was also an event planner who put on large educational conferences, and suddenly I was more right-brained and less organized than I'd ever been. And so it was really a shift, but I wouldn't trade it because it taught me so much about who we are innately, who we are and how we can shift and move. I learned what apraxia and aphasia are on a personal way. It helped me learn to teach people who'd had brain injuries or who were differently abled within a new perspective, because I knew what I was going through personally, so now I could comprehend what they might be experiencing.
Sure.
And with a lot of therapy and with a lot of work, I was able to get my speech back. It's still sometimes not as smooth as it was before.
When you told me, I'm telling you, you're an incredible speaker. When you told me, I was floored. I couldn't believe it.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
I still have trouble spelling now, and I used to be an English teacher.
Okay.
So it changed the way my brain worked, but the brain is a miraculous thing because I spoke several languages before, and when I had the accident, not only did I lose my English, but I lost all my languages.
Oh my gosh.
But occasionally now, and for the past couple of years, I will be in a store where somebody's speaking French, which was one of the languages I spoke. Or I will be in a place where somebody is speaking Malay or a different dialect of Chinese, and I'm thinking, oh, I understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
So the brain continues to heal, and even though the car accident was 10 years ago, I am still discovering new abilities, new things that I can do on a daily basis because our bodies are so miraculous.
Man, that is so cool. Thank you so much for sharing that with
Well,
me.
thank you for asking.
Now, the reason that I have you here today, and the main reason I wanted to talk to you, is because I feel like more people need to hire you to speak. That's my real agenda.
Thank you.
That's
I
my
appreciate
incentive
that.
for having you here, is that I believe that you are a fascinating person, and I believe that more people need to reach out to you to hire you. So, how does someone find you? How do they hire you to speak for them?
Well, my name, I will give you a clue to be able to remember it. So Deborah was the only female warrior in the Bible.
Okay.
Love, the world needs more love.
Yes, it does.
And Bradshaw, everybody knows Terry Bradshaw.
That's true. Everybody does know Terry Bradshaw.
So DeborahLoveBradshaw.com. DeborahLoveBradshaw@gmail.com. You can find me either way, and that will tell you more about my services, more about the things I offer, and the different needs that someone might have that I might be able to help them with.
Sure. What would you say if you were to kind of put it into your 3 top subjects or topics that you just really are passionate about and love presenting on right now and would love an opportunity to speak on? What are one or 3 of your tops?
So body language / communication,
Okay.
diversity and inclusion.
Diversity and inclusion. And could you give me just a rundown on what somebody might expect to get in one of those? What are they going to walk away with? Those listeners.
In communication, they're going to walk away with some communication tips and techniques in how they can better communicate with those around them, how they can begin to see people who may communicate with them differently, or who may just have a different style, and some ways to think about how that person might be thinking versus what you might be thinking, so that you can understand where they're coming from and therefore be able to facilitate better communication. With diversity and inclusion, it's similar in some ways in that you are looking for the talents instead of looking for the deficits.
Okay.
You are observing what can this person do and how can I help this person as a leader or a manager be the most successful employee that they can be by recognizing where their strong suits are instead of always looking at maybe, well, this might not be the area where they're going to excel.
Gotcha.
So the diversity piece, growing up in Asia, having traveled around the world, I love to help people understand difference in cultures, whether that's the LGBT community culture, whether that's differing ability community culture, whether that's from international communications culture.
Great. Okay, so most people have a need for this type of talk or a keynote speech. We can all benefit from this. So I highly encourage you to reach out to Deborah and hire her today as a public speaker if you're wanting to increase your company's ability to communicate and your ability to practice diversity in the workplace and professionally and personally. Sounds like Deborah is the right person.
Well, James, I just want to thank you for allowing me to be here because I recently had the privilege of hearing you speak. And I was very impressed by your ability to communicate and to get your message across. In fact, I wrote you a review on LinkedIn.
You did, and I really appreciate that. I've actually shared it with a few people because it was such an amazing, really humbling review. Thank you so much for that.
Well, it was very sincere, and it was something that I really feel like more people should take the opportunity to listen to your message and what you are trying to get out there, because what you have to offer is extremely valuable to anyone.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. I hope that you received a good bit of information about Deborah, and I look forward to hearing who all reaches out to her and hires her. And I know there is going to be some incredible reviews and testimonials coming out of this, and I can't wait to hear all about it. Deborah, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
being
James,
with
for
me.
having me today. I really do